Well, hey everybody out there, thanks for choosing our short explanation of the game, Port Royal. It's Chris here from JMNC Games, and today we are diving into what has quickly become one of my favorite new card games, a press your luck style game where you are discovering the town of Port Royal. You're making deals with pirates, gathering coin, turning away pirates, trying to trade and hire locals, all in an attempt to collect 12 victory points before any of your opponents. The game published here is from Mindoc, and it's for 2 to 5 players, ages 8 and up, and average game time is just about 20 to 30 minutes. Now, if you haven't already done so, please take a moment to like and subscribe to our channel. We greatly do appreciate that, and it sure does help us grow. Now, let's dive in and take a look at what's inside the box.
For setup, first find the one card that is different from the rest. If you're playing with less than 5 players, this card can be returned back to the box. If playing with 5 players, this card is placed near the center of the table for all players to see. Shuffle the rest of the cards very well. Deal 3 cards to each player face down. Players do not look at these cards. They are their coins as represented by the back of the card. They will use these coins to make purchases throughout the game. Players should always have these cards in front of them and positioned in such a way as for other players to be able to see how much coin you have on you. Place the rest of the cards face down in the center of the playing area. The person who was most recent to visit a harbor should go first, followed clockwise around the table. A player's turn is divided into 2 phases, the discovery phase and the trade and hire phase. All turns will have a discovery phase, but not all turns will have a trade and hire phase. During the discovery phase, the active player flips over the top card of the deck and places it face up. The active player can now choose to move on to the trade and hire phase or continue to flip over the cards, continuing their discovery phase. The discovery phase can continue until either the active player chooses to move on to the trade and hire phase or until 2 pirate ships of the same color appear. If this happens, the player is bust. All cards that have been flipped over are collected and placed into the discard pile, ending the player's turn. Now, if a player decides to end their discovery phase and move on to the trade and hire phase, that player is allowed to take 1 to 3 cards that they have flipped over. If none to 3 pirate ships of different colors have been flipped, the player may take 1 card. If 4 pirate ships of different colors have been flipped, the player may take 2 cards. And if 5 pirate ships of different colors have been flipped, the player can take 3 cards. If a player chooses to collect one of the pirate ships, they would collect this many coins. Draw that many cards from the top of the deck and place those cards face down along with the rest of your coins. If a player chooses to collect one of the people of Port Royal, they must pay the indicated amount here. Using the coins in your possession, place those cards into the discard pile. Collect the person and place them face up in front of you. Collecting people from Port Royal will allow you different abilities or be able to trade in to complete expeditions. We'll go over more about what the different cards can do in just a moment. Once the active player completes their trade and hire phase, the turn is not over yet. Starting with the player left of the active player, they can now choose to purchase one of the cards that are face up. They must pay the cost to the discard pile, as well as pay 1 coin to the player who is the active player. So for example, I want to buy this captain here who costs 4 coins. I pay 4 coins to the discard pile, and 1 coin to the active player. Then I can collect the captain and place him face up in front of me. If the active player left a pirate ship behind, I can collect that ship, collect this many coins from the deck, pay 1 coin to the active player, and return the ship to the discard pile. Once all players have had a chance to buy from the flipped over cards, any remaining cards are collected and placed into the discard pile. Now let's take a moment to look at the different cards there are and what they can do. On any of the people cards, there are 3 sections: the cost, the total number of victory points for obtaining this card, and any special abilities this card has once in your possession. First, there are the settlers, captains, priests, and jacks of all trades. These cards will have a cross, an anchor, or a cabin on them. The jack of all trades will have all 3. These cards do not have any special abilities on their own, but when collected together in certain combinations, can be traded in to complete expeditions. Now, speaking of expeditions, expedition cards look like this. When an expedition card is flipped over, it is placed to the side of the play area. It is kept here for the remainder of the game until one of the players decide that they want to collect it with the appropriate cards. Here you can see which cards you need to have in order to collect. Here tells you the amount of victory points you will collect, and here tells you the amount of coins you will collect for completing this expedition. If I have the right cards, on my turn, I can choose to discard those cards to the discard pile. Once done, I can now collect the expedition card and place it in front of me. Draw the appropriate amount of coins from the draw pile and place them with the rest of your coins. Next, there are the trader cards. They have this map and it has a color with it. If you have a trader in your collection, whenever you take a pirate ship of that color, it means that you are able to collect 1 additional coin per trader that you have of the same color. The Mademoiselle, when in your possession, will allow you to purchase cards for 1 less coin per Mademoiselle that you have in your possession. The Governor, when in your possession, will allow you to take 1 additional card during the trade and hire phase, keeping in mind that you will need to pay the costs for the cards taken. If you are taking when you are not the active player, you will still need to pay the active player 1 coin per card that you are taking. The Jester, when in your possession, if you are not the active player and it's your turn in the trade and hire phase, and there are no cards left for you to take, you gain 1 coin. Also, if a player goes bust during their turn and there's no trade and hire phase, you gain 1 coin per jester in your possession. The Admiral, when in your possession and it is your turn to take cards during the trade and hire phase, if there are 5 or more cards currently flipped over, you will collect 2 coins per Admiral within your possession. Before we look at sailors and pirates, let's take a look at the pirate ships. We already know that this top part shows you how many coins you collect if you take the ship. But down here at the bottom, we'll show you the strength of the ship and how many swords are needed in order to turn that ship away from your harbor. Any ship with a skull is too strong and cannot be repelled from the harbor. So if you've collected enough pirates or sailors into your hand, you can repel a ship out of the harbor, but only the most recent card turned. So let's say I have these two sailors in my hand and this galleon gets flipped over. I can choose to call upon my two sailors to repel the galleon, removing it from the flipped over cards and placing it into the discard pile. Your sailors and pirates can be used over and over and are never exhausted. Having more of them will help you repel ships and keep you from going bust, allowing you a chance to collect many ships of different colors so you're able to take more cards during the trade and hire phase. One final type of card to look at is the tax card. When the tax card is flipped, if any player at that moment has 12 or more coins in their possession, they must immediately surrender half to the discard pile. If you have an odd number, round down by 1. The second part of the tax card will either have the person who has the fewest victory points or the greatest number of swords. Whoever that is, based on the card, will collect 1 coin. If it is a tie, the tying players both take a coin. If you ever run out of draw cards, simply shuffle the discarded cards and replace. Play continues until the first player is able to collect 12 victory points. When this happens, you complete the current round. So for example, if the second player is able to collect 12 victory points, the third and fourth player will also complete their turn. Once it gets back to the first player, the game is over. If more than one player is able to collect 12 victory points, then count the total number of coins still in their possession. Whoever has the most is the winner, and if it's still a tie, the players share the victory.
And so that is Port Royal. Thanks for joining us today. We sure hope you enjoyed our explanation on Port Royal. And if you did, if you could give us a like and subscribe, we greatly do appreciate that. If you got any questions on Port Royal, please feel free to drop them down in the comments below, and I'll be sure to answer them as quickly as I can. Well, now we know the basics, so let's play.